Alrighty, welcome back for another episode of Two Plane Sports, and I'd like to personally welcome back Jose and Brandon. They have survived from Miami. I didn't end up going because of a few reasons. I definitely had some FOMO this past weekend, but they both look a little more tan and had a good time, and they came back in one piece. So we can turn the page. That's why we missed Monday's podcast. I know we promised that.
We only had one beer a night. That was our trick to survival.
Exactly.
One beer a night.
That was
One beer a night keeps the doctor away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they made it through. We missed our Monday recording because they were flying home, and that's why we didn't announce the ticket winner. So for this video, we're going to announce the ticket winner. We're going to and talk about 5 visitors that came as of today on April 19th that for some reason came on a Tuesday in April, visited OU today. So 5 great players were on campus today. We're going to talk about each one of them and just really go in depth on what we see and the implications of their recent visits. But before we get into it, we just want to say we really appreciate it. We have a huge goal for this year. We're going to be hitting 10,000 subscribers. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Right now, we're a little over 4,000. So we're going to be chugging along. We're going for 10K. Help us get us there. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, turn the notification bell on. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, like us on Facebook, do all that, and you'll be able to stay up to date. We've got the spring game this weekend, a bunch of visitors coming this weekend, just a bunch of implications, and the Baker Mayfield statue, which I feel like we're all really, really excited about. And finally, I feel like it should have been years ago this should have happened, but I don't know why it takes so long. So, but we're going to announce the winner. The winner of the tickets, as you can tell by Brandon's sign, it's going to be Sean and Sean Hall. We wanted to give you the tickets for the Santee Lounge for the spring game, so be sure to email us or message us on Twitter, and we will get it to you. And we really appreciate it. We see you liking the video, commenting on the videos, and we just wanted to give these back to you and hope you enjoy the game. So just email us, and if we don't hear from you, which we assume we will, we'll try to get these tickets to someone before Saturday. So we'll keep you guys up to date on that. So the first visitor we're going to talk about is Cole Adams. I feel like we've talked about him a little bit on, over the last month or two. I feel like he's an extremely highly anticipated, at least for me, recruit that was visiting campus, to visit campus. A 5'10", 180-pound wide receiver from Owasso, another Oklahoma-grown kid, 2023 4-star, number 320 overall, and number 43 wide receiver in the class. He's played varsity every single year, so he's going into his senior year. He started playing freshman year. He's a dynamic wide receiver, punt returner, kick returner. He's had 105 catches, little over 2,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, an extremely athletic kid. And he's really been picking up a lot of steam on the recruiting trail. He's picked up offers from Alabama, Texas A&M, LSU, Tennessee, and Mississippi State over the last few months. But OU has yet to offer as of right now. And kind of some backstory on him is Lincoln Riley and the old staff, they were talking with him, but they never fully extended him an offer. They kind of kept the lines of communication open, but they never offered him. And then obviously he left, Lincoln Riley left, and then the new staff came in. And with Brent Venables, his kind of policy has been, you need to visit, and then at that point we'll offer you, or we'll decide to offer you, but you have to come to campus to show that you're interested. And I think Adams had a hard time getting around to that idea because he was getting offered from Alabama, Texas A&M, LSU, and he's just like, I don't have to do that. Lincoln Riley and the old staff should have offered me by now, and then, I shouldn't have to go prove myself. And I think just the drive to Oklahoma, and he probably is an OU fan who grew up watching the Sooners and loving them, and finally he just kind of caved and visited. So I'm curious to see if an offer comes here pretty soon. Jose, what do you think on Adams? And I'm glad to see him on campus.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of an electrifying player. When I was watching his highlights before we started recording, and obviously there's highlights that we're seeing the best of his junior season. But when I first looked at him, I asked you guys, is he kind of just known for his speed? Is he a speedster? And Yeah, he's really fast, but if you watch him, he looks kind of like CeeDee Lamb with how his agility, how he can get out of tackles. He'd be a really good player to have. The one different thing about him than the other wide receiver recruits that this offensive recruiting staff has been doing is he's kind of short. Not that he is in the grand scheme of things, but he's 5'10", and it seems like we're targeting like 6'1", 6'2" guys for the most part. So he would definitely, I think he would probably get moved into the slot or be put in a position where he's going to have to be a burner. So, and he can definitely develop speed over the next year and a half. So he would be an exciting player to get. Like you said, he's been getting a lot of offers from a lot of other big programs. So it's definitely going to be a tough battle to get his commitment, but it's good that he did come. Like you said, I think he definitely, even though he might have had a tough time, he left with an offer, I believe. And the thing with Lincoln Riley's staff, like it or not, we were getting a lot of 5-star wide receivers or top 100 wide receivers, and there's probably a reason why he didn't get an offer from Lincoln. As bad as it is, Lincoln was getting big time recruits, and probably didn't see a use for a guy like this, even though he's still probably going to be really good. I think he'd be a great addition to any offense.
Yeah, the clubs go up on a Tuesday, and apparently so does recruiting in Norman, Oklahoma. Today's a good day, as you mentioned, with 5 guys on campus. Specifically, Hose used the word dynamic, and I think that is a nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head with that one right there. You look at his stats from last year. He had 180 yards rushing, but he did it on 18 carries. So there's a 10 yards a carry average. He had 1 rushing touchdown. He had over 900 receiving yards and 8 receiving touchdowns. 3 kick return touchdowns, 1 punt return touchdown. So what is that? That's total of 13, 14 touchdowns. Just quick math there. Over 1,000 purpose yards, or all-purpose yards. Yeah, so dynamic is a very good way to describe his game, and so is speed. Obviously, if you're a punt returner, kick returner, you're pretty fast. I use Wes Welker to compare Gavin Freeman, and I'm just going to use it again here. The size is very similar. The fact that they both returned punts, kicks in college, Wes Welker did it too early on in his NFL career. I can see Cole Adams definitely being, at least as a freshman, if he does decide Oklahoma, the guy at punt returner, kick returner, competing probably with guys like Gavin Freeman for that role, I think. So yeah, I think he would be a huge get, and he's a guy that we always talk about it with kids like this, him, Jacoby Johnson, Gentry Williams, who obviously we've got committed now. You don't want to lose out on these in-state talent, especially the really good ones like this. With Owasso, we already lost out on Chris McClellan. Let's hope that we don't follow that trend with Cole Adams, because I think Cole Adams could be really, really, really special if he does end up being a Sooner.
Yeah, and not only Chris McClellan, but then you think back a few years, lost out on Josh Proctor, went to Ohio State, and that one definitely hurt. I just really hope, I'd imagine an offer will be coming soon for him, and just because he's a 4-star and not overly highly rated, with all these offers coming from an Alabama, Texas A&M, and LSU, I see him climbing the ranks this fall, and I really think that OU, if they make the offer, and I don't think they can drag it out too much longer. At some point, if you don't offer, the kid's going to move on. Even if he's a huge Sooner fan, I mean, you can't drag him along when you've got offers from other Power 5 schools. And I just have this nightmare scenario of we're playing against Alabama in a playoff game, and you got Cole Adams running wild against us, and it's just like, why couldn't we have just kept him? I know, but I feel like, after watching Josh Jacobs do what he did to us, and that's a local product, it's just, I just have those nightmare scenarios, which I hope that doesn't happen. So hopefully an offer comes soon, and if they do offer soon, I feel like OU is going to have a fantastic shot of landing him. So we'll move on. So 4 out of 5 of the guys we're talking about today are wide receivers. And so everyone's been kind of on Cale Gundy about recruiting wide receivers while OU already has Dashman Cozart. I just want everyone to take a deep breath. I should have said this before, but everyone needs to take a deep breath on this whole wide receiver recruiting. I've been seeing people talking about it, and overall the commits in general, like they haven't been flooding in. Cale Gundy's going to be getting his guys, and they're going to be very good. So another guy we're going to talk about is Morgan Pearson, 6'1", 215-pound wide receiver out of Ardmore, Oklahoma, 2023 3-star wide receiver, as I said. He does not currently hold an offer from Oklahoma. Last year, he had 48 catches, 831 yards, and 10 touchdowns. He currently holds offers from Iowa State, Marshall, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and Pittsburgh. I see him, obviously another local Oklahoma kid. I see him more as if a few things don't go the Sooners' way, you'll see an offer for him. I think this is more of keeping lines of communication open, just kind of feeling out where he's at. I did notice, like, I kind of was tracking back. I was looking at his 247 profile. It looks like he's made a few visits to Texas A&M, but they haven't offered him. I think A&M's doing the same thing as Oklahoma's doing. He's good. I do think that OU's in on a couple of 4 and 5 stars. Obviously, like we talked about, Cole Adams might be one of those guys. It's good to get him on campus. If you keep those lines of communication open with kids that are from the state of Oklahoma that are kind of on that edge, you have a much better shot of landing them because they're an hour away from you. Brandon, what do you think about Pearson and the implications of that?
Yeah, with Morgan Pearson, he definitely fits that role that Jose was talking about with, the receivers, the non-receivers, just kind of the athletes we can bring in have kind of had that big size speed to them. Morgan Pearson fits that bill with 6'1", 215. He's, 3 or 4 inches taller than Cole Adams, about 20, 30 pounds heavier than him. So he's definitely that big type of player that we've been recruiting. But there's also seems to be a theme with not only height and stuff, but with either two-way players or two-sport players. As Morgan Pearson also plays D1, or not D1, he doesn't play any D1 sport yet. But he plays baseball too, and he holds several D1 offers in baseball. Jaron Canick, although I don't know if he plays 2 sports, plays 2 ways in high school. Played offense and defense. Jaden Rowe ran track and did football. But it seems like everybody that we're recruiting was also on the track. It seems like with Venables, he wants these guys to be versed, well-rounded, and just versatile. They're not, even if they only play football, they odds are they play 2 positions. Jacoby Johnson plays basketball, also plays 2 ways on the field. So I think it's interesting to see that theme in recruiting. As you mentioned, 831 yards, 10 touchdowns, great size. And he's another in-state kid. I think we should try to keep all of the good in-state talent you possibly can. So I'm all on board with the Sooners offering Pearson, and hopefully he ends up a Sooner.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you said, Brum. He definitely seems to be just a guy we want to keep communication open with. He might have get an offer, but maybe it's not a committable offer, or maybe he'll get a preferred walk-on offer later on in the year. I just think from watching the highlight tapes that he has on 247, he's good, but there's nothing like, at the high school level, there's nothing like, wow, that's super special, and he definitely makes big plays. But because of his size, I think that's what you can attribute that to. Not that he's not skilled, but it's definitely going to be a tougher road ahead. I think for him, we're probably going to see whatever the biggest offer is once we come down to October, September, October time. Whatever the biggest offer it is he has, he'll take. And maybe it is his Oklahoma might be his dream school or his number 1 school. So maybe he holds out or he takes a preferred walk-on spot. But it's not like Iowa's a bad school to go to. That'd be a big program to go to. They compete sometimes for Big Ten championships. So it's definitely not someone that I would look at and be like, damn, it sucks that we missed out on him. And maybe I'll be wrong once he gets to college, but at this moment, it seems like we have enough of a lead with some bigger, higher rated prospects that we can be like, all right, if something falls off with these guys, then keeping him in state would be a good idea. And maybe he can be developed by our coaching staff to be a step above what he shows to be in high school at this point.
Yeah, it's always good to keep those lines of communication open. I do think, I don't know if he's an Oklahoma fan, but I'd imagine if OU came around in September, October, November saying, hey, we got a spot for you, I think he'd jump on board pretty quick. So it's something to watch.
I think we should prioritize him. Why would you not want to prioritize an in-state kid with his size and in height or whatever, and two-way sport, two-sport guy?
Oh, I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't be a bad idea. I just think that OU's in a, I don't know how many scholarship spots they're going to have, because you never know who's going to transfer anymore, and who maybe OU picks up a transfer in the portal as well. But I feel like there's there's probably going to be 3 spots available, 3 scholarships, maybe 4. And you already got Cozart on board. And then Cole Adams, if he gets an offer, I feel like he would hop on board pretty quick. I don't know. I don't know if there's, there's so many unknowns. I just feel like OU's in a good spot with some other kids. But I mean, I wouldn't be upset with prioritizing Pearson, because there's been a lot of underrated kids that are overlooked out of high school that end up being stars in college and in the NFL. Just because you're not a 5-star doesn't mean you can't play.
Yeah.
So
it might be an unpopular opinion, but in-state, while it is cool to keep these guys in, at the end of the day, the goal of the sport is to win. And unless they show like they're obviously severely underrated by these recruiting platforms and the coaches see something, then it's like, all right, that makes sense. Or like something's popping off. Maybe his senior year is going to be very different from what he's produced over the last 2 or 3 years at the high school level. So maybe that's what gets him noticed and gets bigger offers. But at this point, while again, like I said, it's cool to prioritize in-state talent, at the end of the day, we all have to realize we got to win. And if we can get 4- and 5-star guys from Florida, Alabama, California, wherever they come from, it doesn't matter. As long as they can add to winning and to the culture that Venables is building.
Yeah. So something to watch. Maybe an offer will be extended later. It'll be something that's definitely keep an eye on. So moving on to a couple more wide receivers. Now, these are not underrated kids by any means. JJ Smith, Jeremiah, he goes by JJ, 6'3", 185-pound wide receiver from Opelika. I think that's it, Opelika, Florida. 2024 5-star, number 3 overall, and number 1 wide receiver in the class. He was the number 2 receiver as far as the leading receiver on a state championship team in Florida. 3A state champs. As a sophomore, 31 catches, 667 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I mean, as a sophomore playing at one of the better schools in the state of Florida, your very first year, you burst onto the scene and you put up those kind of numbers. That's pretty impressive. And I think in the state championship, he ended up having 150 yards or so and a touchdown. So dynamic kid, huge frame, 6'3" already. I mean, he could end up being 6'4", 6'5" if he keeps growing. Again, he's only 15, probably 16 at this point. He's still got a couple more years of high school ball. It's good to get him on campus. Again, Cale Gundy's putting in the work. I mean, this is the number 1 wide receiver in the class in 2024. Obviously, he was interested enough to come up here. I believe, I don't really know, but it's like a recruiting platform that kind of shuttled these kids around to a few campuses over the last week or so. They're on that, and OU is one of the stops. But regardless, anytime you can get them on campus or get him on campus, and with a tweet that says, "I'll be back for sure." I feel like a lot of positive momentum happened today, that maybe if this recruiting platform tour deal wasn't happening, maybe they don't even take a visit and they don't even know what they're missing out on. But since they were here, it sounds like they're planning to come back. Jose, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I was going to bring up the tweet. I think that's all we have, really, the indication of how he felt of the visit, and it's really promising. I think, like you said, if he does come back, he's going to need to come back probably 2 more times before we're like, all right, we're definitely in this race. Because at this point, and again, it's just, while he is 2024, there's a lot of time left for us to start bumping up on his list of potential schools. It seems like Alabama, Ohio State, and USC have the lead on him. And like it or hate it, all of those schools make sense for the number 1 wide receiver. Alabama just always wins. Ohio State always has a great offense, and Lincoln Riley always recruits really talented wide receivers. So at this point, like you said, the tweet is big time for us, and we just have to keep communicating with him, and hopefully over the summer, the coaches can take more visits to see these kids, because it's going to be tough to get kids from Florida, or, which it seems like we're starting to really focus down there, to come unofficially to Oklahoma, and especially if they're maybe not a kid or family with much means to take so many trips, because it's not like Oklahoma is going to be the number one place for these guys to go. So the coaches have to make a significant effort to get these kids to come up.
Yeah, the tweet is fun for JoJo to tweet that stuff for us. We like to see it. You mentioned his numbers, almost 600 yards, 6 touchdowns. But he fits the description I'm talking about again. He's a two-way player for them. He plays receiver and corner. So again, it's fitting that theme. There's something in the water there that Brent Venables likes. Guys that have experience on both sides of the ball. In the state game, as Brent mentioned, he had 2 receiving touchdowns, but he also had a 90-yard pick six in that state championship game. Just freaky stuff. Him tweeting that, I gotta think that we're right in the mix with any of the schools that we're talking about here. Granted, it's very early on in this kid's process. Alabama was always a tough one to beat out. I don't know who else mentioned. Ohio State. Yeah, they're okay, but he's not going to Southern California. That place sucks. I hate them. I'll never say a nice thing about them on this program. I promise that. And anytime you guys bring that up, I'm going to immediately shit all over them. So he's not going to USC. That place sucks. Lincoln Riley sucks even more. He's not doing that. But I think we're right in the mix just this early on with anything. Anytime we tweet about him, he retweets it right away. I haven't seen any other, Alabama-based shows that he's retweeting, or Southern California ones, but that's because they don't have fans in the first place anyway to make podcasts for USC, or if they did, no one would watch it because no one watches them anyway. But yeah, I think we're right there in the mix very early on, but he's freaky athletic, he's got great size, and he's a two-way player. He fits every bill that we want, that we're building our program around, and man, it'd be exciting to see him in that Crimson and Cream.
Yeah, and I think this upcoming season, sorry, bro.
No, you're right.
This offense needs to show that the wide receiver is going to be really important, because I think that's why wide receivers were so attracted to being at Oklahoma before, right? The wide receivers were heavily used, and the running game, I mean, it was known for being a passing game, right? And we all know that it was still predicated on running first and then throwing play action. But now this offense, we're getting a lot of attention from really, really good running backs. But the wide receivers, while we're getting some attention, it is starting to slow down compared to what it was. So this year, the wide receivers need to be shown to be like a priority to get the ball to them. I think that's when a guy like this will start entertaining coming to Oklahoma more and more.
I think that's a great point, but I think we have plenty of talent in that receiving room this year to show that. Where I think that's a great point, I think we'll see it out of the guys on campus right now.
Yeah, I think they're going to be set up for success. There's going to be, I do agree though that with the huge turnover, there is some sort of, you have to prove it a little bit. But if they get through halfway through the season and Gabriel's putting up good numbers and you've got Weiss doing well, Stoops doing well, at that point, I feel like kids will be like, okay, well, this offense will work for me.
Farouk.
Yeah, Farouk. I mean, he probably is going to be a huge contributor. And Brandon, I think, were you talking about JoJo Trader?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I brought up JJ Smith. I just wanted to make sure. I mean, they're both.
That's what I'm going to say about JoJo Trader. I was locked in on him.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, JJ, I was just making sure. I was like, wait a minute.
JJ and I got lost on JoJo.
Yeah.
So what do you want to say about JJ while we're still on?
Yeah. What about JJ? He's a pure receiver.
I want them all. USC sucks. You got me on a tangent, boys.
Yeah.
You sure you didn't say
yes.
Coach?
I might have. So
you said JJ. I was there.
I said JJ.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next guy. I mean, we already got a little analysis on JoJo Trader, 6'2", 170-pound athlete from Miami. Like Brandon said, he played wide receiver and defensive back in high school, for his first year as a sophomore. 2024 5-star, number 4 overall, and the number 1 athlete in the class. So JoJo and JJ are pretty much a package deal. They're both from the South Florida area, and really, I think they're really close. They took the visit together. I believe they're going to take an official together. And Jose, you were talking about teams that lead and that are in really good spots. Ohio State's in a really good spot for both of them. Really, really good spot. Not saying. I mean, again, 2024 is they don't put pen to paper for another year and a half at the earliest. So we've got to remember that just because Ohio State leads in 2022 and they don't sign till December of 23, that's a lot of time. A lot of things can happen. Coaches can leave. Crazier things have happened. But anyway, I think they're both going to visit officially or unofficially again here sometime soon. Brandon already gave his analysis on JoJo. Jose, what do you think?
Yeah. I didn't know they were a package deal, so I'm glad you said that. That's good information to know. But yeah, then it just seems like Ohio State is going to be the school to beat here, and we're not strangers to trying to battle Ohio State for wide receivers. We lost out on one, was it 2 years ago on a Mecca, Mbuka or something like that. Sorry, I'm sure I butchered his last name, but like I said, it makes sense. That offense is always really good, even though when they go to the pros, really just the wide receivers excel and their quarterbacks suck. But it's just the same thing I said before, right? This offense needs to show that we prioritize wide receivers just as much as we're prioritizing running backs. Because if you look at Levy's offense last year, and I don't know if the stats off the top of my head, we can't name a great Ole Miss wide receiver, right? Within Levy's offense before. And I'm pretty sure Levy wasn't there, but they had DK Metcalf. Actually, Levy wasn't there. DK Metcalf was a really good receiver before Levy was there. AJ Brown, years ago, Laquan Treadwell, even though he became nothing in the NFL. So Levy's offense just needs to show wide receivers are important. And then, again, we will be able to compete with an Ohio State for these really, really highly rated wide receivers. I don't think that the wide receiver room is going to struggle, but it's definitely not going to look the same as it once was, at least with how recruiting is looking right now.
Well, not only is it Baker Mayfield week in Norman, Oklahoma, which it should be every single week, I think that guy's a legend. But if Ohio State really is in the lead for these two, JJ and JoJo, the name comparison thing, they were too close. It threw me off, and their stats are very similar too. It was weird. But JJ and JoJo, all right, if Ohio State really is in the lead for these tremendous athletes, like I said, not only is it Baker Mayfield week, but if you're Brent Venables when they get to campus, because it is, you have to just on a loop, Baker playing the flag. Every room they go to on their tour, every they need to see it everywhere they look around. I would be that petty. I would put it everywhere. I would, if they're doing dinner or whatever. I don't know if they can eat or whatever, but their plate has Baker Mayfield planting the flag. Their TVs are just on a loop with Baker planting the flag. Then what? Then they're going to be like, well, shit, Ohio State sucks. All they do is get flags planted on their home field. Why the hell are we going there? Boom, sold. Oklahoma, if you're watching this, hire me.
Good point.
I can land these.
I was going to say J.R. Sandlin might be calling you here pretty quick for some recruiting insight.
Just run it on a loop.
Especially if the Baker statue is what we all hope it is, and it's him planting the flag. You might just tweet out and just mention those guys. Maybe that's what we do. If it is that, take a picture, tweet all the wide receivers, everyone that's favored to go to Ohio State right now.
Anytime anybody's supposed to go to Ohio State and they're visiting us, that's all I'm doing. On a loop. You're like, do you really want this to happen to you, bud? That's what happens when you go there. You get flags planted.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, it might work. It could work. So, final guy we'll talk about is a current Sooner commit. Erik McCarty, 6'2", 180-pound kid from McAlester, Oklahoma. 2023 three-star running back / safety. He's a Sooner legacy. We've talked about him when he first committed. What was it? 2, 3, 4 months ago when he committed. We talked about him a little bit, but I just kind of want to reiterate it. I mean, he came on campus today or yesterday as you're watching this. He's a terrific athlete, and I think he's going to be a safety that's in the defensive back room. But as his junior year, we talk about these crazy stats. He had 202 carries, 2,005 yards, and 38 touchdowns. It's 10 yards a carry. And then on the other side of the ball, he had 104 tackles and 6 tackles for loss and 1 pick. The kid he did throw a touchdown. There you go. The kid's a tremendous athlete, tremendous talent, and I think is someone that is severely underrated. He was once not even rated at all when he committed to OU. Now he's a 3-star, still, I think, severely underrated, and someone that I think could be a 4-star by the end of this upcoming football season. Just getting him on campus, getting to talk to these kids. He's one of the 5 that were on campus. I'm sure he was in their ears, especially like Cole Adams being a local Oklahoma kid. Probably was trying to sell him on the idea of being Oklahoma grown, assuming he gets an offer. Brandon, what do you think about McCarty? I think McCarty is going to be a lot bigger of a contributor and a lot bigger piece than a lot of people think, like a Danny Stutzman type impact player.
I think he's definitely going to get that 4-star before it's all said and done. By the time he arrives on campus to start his Sooner career officially, he will have that at least 4th star. The kid's too good. Those numbers that you just mentioned, 2,000 yards while averaging 10 yards a carry and also having 100 tackles. I don't care what level you're playing at. That's ridiculous. That is a man amongst boys out there. He fits the description again of playing 2 ways in high school, and he also ran track and field. So not only 2-way high school football player, a 2-sport athlete. Track and field seems to be a very, very popular one too among these guys that we're going for. Maybe we're going for a speed O. I can't even call it that. It's too close to Bitch Face's system. We'll figure something out, but it's that speed attack on offense that seems to be a theme. In size again, and he fits both of those. I absolutely agree with. I think he will be a bigger contributor by the time he gets here than people think right now. I think it will be at that safety position. Very excited to see him on campus officially next year.
Yeah, he's the perfect example of a guy that is just extremely underrated because of where he plays, and he is in a position where he should be getting an offer, right? He's just underrated. Going back a little bit to Morgan Pearson, he just, it is what it is. He's just not he doesn't have those outstanding stats like Erik McCarty does. And I think Eric's going to, like you guys said, he very much has a chance to get that 4th star. I think obviously now that it's his turn where all eyes are going to be on the 2023 class, we'll see a lot more of these recruiting analysts and scouts watch more of him play and make that decision. We might even see a big jump like we did with RSJ last year, going from like somewhere in the thousands to being a top 200 player in his class. So definitely a possibility for him if he has just an amazing senior season, which I think it's fair to expect from the stats he's put up in the last 2 years. I do agree that he's going to be a big piece once he gets to campus. Obviously, it's all going to depend on the position he plays, and I agree it should be safety. And it's also going to be, I think he'll have just as much of an impact as a guy like Jackson Arnold in recruiting. And it one, because he's already committed, and 2, because he's an in-state guy. He'll help us out with a guy like Cole Adams and any other in-state products that are maybe considering or like on the fence about it. He'll be able to speak to I'm from here. I get it. Maybe you do want to leave and go somewhere else to just experience something new, but it's going to be a new experience. It's going to be a great culture. There's no reason why you shouldn't want to be coached by Coach Venables. Just come join the chosen class, and let's get something started.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I'm excited that we got him, committed early. I think he's one of those guys that if the Sooners would have waited on, could have very well lost out on. They're flirting with Cole Adams as far as potentially losing him, but they did not do that with McCarty. So I'm glad to get him on campus. Hopefully his impact will have some positive results for some of these kids that visited with him, and something we'll be watching closely. Brandon, do you have an indie video challenge for the people?
Yeah, so it's, as I mentioned just a bit ago, it's Baker Mayfield week. Love it. So it's a 2-part challenge, a 1A, 1B, if you will. So the 1A part of this, I guess, will be your favorite Baker Mayfield moment as a Sooner. For me, I'll just go ahead and say it. It's the plant flag. That's awesome. I talk about it still. This is not the first time on this show that I've talked about Baker planting the flag, because I remember exactly where I was when that happened. I remember losing my mind. Elite moment for me. That's number one. Really just so cool. And 1B is going to be, who is your favorite Sooner of all time? Because for me, we were in college when Baker was OU's guy. He was a legend for everybody, for Sooner fans everywhere. We were fortunate enough to be actually in school when he was the quarterback. So I think just a magnitude, a couple of that, and just being in school while he was there, he's my favorite Sooner ever. So yeah, that is the 2-part challenge this week. 1A, favorite Baker Mayfield moment. 1B, your favorite Sooner ever.
I kind of want to answer it for myself. I think my favorite Baker moment was the Tennessee game. I really think that whole game was, and then him quieting the crowd, I guess if that's the exact moment, that was pretty good. And then honestly, probably my favorite OU player has been, I really like Kyler Murray. I don't know, there's something about Kyler that I really, really liked. I mean, I love Baker, don't get me wrong, but I also got to watch Kyler in person too, as a student. So it was, I don't know, Kyler is my guy. Jose, what do you think?
Top Baker moment is the Kansas game. All of it, from the coin toss to when he grabbed his junk to just him shouting at them how much they suck. That's definitely number one in my eyes. And favorite Sooner, I think it's going to be Adrian Peterson.
It's a good one.
Yeah. But if I'm going to pick someone that we watched while we were in school, it's going to be Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine. They were a duo. I can't split them up.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. So
your all the response on this challenge this week, I think it'll be a fun one.
And there's bound to be a few moments that I'm not even thinking about right now that is going to jog my memory, and we're like, oh wow, that was a good time. So be sure.
Water. I mean, there's a couple really good ones.
Wasn't it Baylor pregame when he was yelling at them, but calling him daddy?
Daddy was, yeah.
So there's quite a few good moments. I mean, he was a terrific guy to watch in college, and obviously a legend. So it'll be good to see that. And if you're, do the comment, do the in-video challenge. Let us know what you think. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 10,000 this year. We're a quarter of the way through, almost a third of the way through the year. We're a little over 4,000. Help us get us there. It's free. Helps us out a ton. Follow us and like us on Twitter, and or like us on Facebook, and find us on Spotify and Apple. And we'll catch you Friday, and we'll do a spring game preview. Appreciate it.